If, God forbid, you're ever asked what difference the French Revolution made to the world, you can bluff your way out by borrowing Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai's reply from the 1960s. It's too early to tell. And it does give you an idea of the scope of the thing. You almost can't overestimate the significance of the French Revolution. Here are the basics. When did it happen? It began in 1789, traditionally with the storming of the Bastille on the 14th of July, still celebrated every year in France as Bastille Day. Why did it happen? In two words, the Enlightenment and bankruptcy. First, the Enlightenment, 18th century intellectual movement influenced by French writers like Rousseau and Voltaire. Broadly, it ridiculed tradition and superstition and encouraged the use of reason and logic. This was radical because in France, the government and economy were defined by medieval traditions. It had an all-powerful king with no constitution, no parliaments, and incredibly, it was the richest people in the country, the bishops and the nobles, who were exempt from taxes. Meanwhile, the bulk of the population was poor, hungry, and overloaded with taxes. Secondly, bankruptcy. France had been fighting wars and, of course, mostly losing them for the best part of a century. Wars are expensive, and they've been paid for by big loans. By the 1780s, debt repayments had the government on the brink of bankruptcy. This led to a political crisis, because a string of ministers tried but failed to reform the economy. So new ideas meet political crisis. Add to this, nice but dim Louis XVI's complete failure to control events. A National Assembly was finally convened to sort out the mess, but rumours of a royalist plot led to revolt instead. The Paris mob sacked the Bastille and murdered the mayor. The Assembly, which included many fans of the Enlightenment, abolished privileges and tax exemptions, nationalised the church, and basically stood France on its head. But sadly, given the lofty ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity with which it all began, the revolution soon fell into bloodshed and chaos. France ended up at war with most of Europe, ruled by monarchs who obviously didn't fancy the French Revolution much. Fear and suspicion in France led to political extremism, and the revolution fell under the control of men like Danton, Saint-Just and Robespierre, who instituted a reign of terror. Essentially, they guillotine everyone who gets in their way, including each other, until they're swept from power and guillotine themselves. What did it all achieve? France was never the same again. The old medieval establishment wasn't coming back. And at a time when most of Europe was still ruled by ancient dynasties, and peasants were under the thumb of rich social elites, it was an incredible example, or warning depending on who you were. Revolution became an explosive new political idea, a realistic means of obtaining liberty and equality. And if you think of the impact of that, from Russia to China and South America, you can see that the revolution's legacy is vast.